Good evening, everyone, and we just like to thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today. Today proves to be a very special treat. This is our inaugural inception of having a seat at the table, where we're going to have a riveting discussion. We'll have two wonderful presenters who's sure to tug at the minds and the hearts of people who share in this work and who have an interest in combating the plight of homelessness and being engaged and enlightened. But first of all, we have a wonderful informational icebreaker to kind of introduce the topic. And now I turn it over to Miss Valerie Down.
We're going to do this icebreaker. And for those of you who know the street medicine, please don't answer. You could put your answers in the chat. So can everyone see this screen?
Yes.
It says the street medicine icebreaker. So the first question is, what is the fundamental approach of street medicine? Is to do what? Is it to connect individuals to healthcare for the homeless programs? Is it to connect and refer to other homeless resources? Or is it to engage unhoused individuals where they are and on their own terms?
See.
See. Okay. Put it in the chat, Alyssa. Okay, the second one is the street medicine programs is in how many cities? The third question is the street medicine programs is in how many countries?
Pennsylvania.
And what state did the street medicine start in?
92, I think.
And what year did the street medicine begin? And so with that, I'm not going to give you the answers because you're going to hear the answers as we move along. And I'll reveal the answers at the end. Charlotte.
Miss Valerie, what was that last question?
What year did street medicine begin?
What are the options?
Okay. 1980, 1992, 1998, or 2005.
Oh, I thank you so much, Valerie, for that knowledge. And now that all our juices are flowing, and for those of us who do or don't know, are sitting, waiting on tiptoe anticipation for the answers, I think that we will be enlightened. I want to introduce to some and present to others, because I'm sure she has comrades with her, Miss Savannah Vetterly. She is from the Stewart Coalition, and she will tell you who she is, what they do, and why she's here. Savannah.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Charlotte. Thank you all for being here. On behalf of the Student Coalition under the Street Medicine Institute, I'd like to thank you for being here. I know we all come from very different disciplines, and so I just wanted to give a quick overview of street medicine and what the Student Coalition does. So street medicine includes health and social services, specifically to address the unique needs of the unsheltered homeless, delivered directly to them in their own environment. So the motto is go to the people. And I don't want to belabor the point because I know we started and introduced street medicine with our wonderful icebreaker, but really at the heart of street medicine is that we are trying to engage people where they're at, and the goal is really to reduce barriers to healthcare access. This has become a global movement, and now there are programs in over 140 cities in 27 countries and across 6 continents. And honestly, as I shared that statistic, it's probably increased because it's just really been an explosion in the past decade or so of programs starting up throughout the country. And so the Student Coalition, we're under the Street Medicine Institute, which was founded in 2009. Our goal is we try to connect and be a resource for street medicine groups across the country. We organize webinars. We have advocacy efforts currently on Johnson v. Grants Pass. We have a podcast. So there's a lot going on in the Student Coalition. And we also help organize the International Street Medicine Symposium, which will be taking place on September 15th through the 18th in Kansas City, Missouri. If you're interested, shameless plug, it's a wonderful symposium, and I could not recommend it more. But anyway, really at the center of what we do at the Student Coalition is we try to inspire students to get more involved in street medicine and hopefully educate the future leaders in street medicine and in healthcare. And so I'm in a little bit, I'm going to put a few links in the chat. One's to our newsletter, and the other is to our website. You don't have to be a student necessarily to hear about our events and attend them. They're geared towards students, but they are open to everyone. So with that being said, I just want to encourage all the students on the call to ask questions and be engaged. This is really a wonderful opportunity, and not many times do we have the opportunity to be in direct conversation with people with lived experience of homelessness and to really learn from them. So just take the opportunity and be engaged during this session if you can. And I just wanted to extend another thank you to all of you for being here, to EDAC, to National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, and most importantly to our speakers here today with lived experience of homelessness, and just for being willing to share your stories. I'm so excited for this session, and I hope you all are too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Savannah. And with all of that wonderful preamble and information, this event has been a success, but as always is the foundational premise upon which EDAC was built is having a seat at the table means that the individual who is unhoused with lived experience of homelessness is the star of this show. And tonight we have 2 individuals who have agreed to come and to present in their own way what their story is. And without further ado, I present to you Miss Monica Walker.
So hi for the low vision individuals attending. I am a caramel brown, sweet looking grandmother type. And I'm wearing a blue, my favorite color blouse, and I have on glasses. And I wanted to not really write a lot down, but I wanted to take about 5 minutes to tell you who I am. I've had mental illness all my life since I could remember. As a child, I had some trauma. I had a closed head injury. I've had a mini stroke, and I've been homeless twice. And that's not always been because of financial. It was because sometimes my disability, the mental illness, the confusion made me not such a good person with money. So other than that, I've worked in a shelter as a navigator, helping other people, and I've had a lot of interactions with people from different backgrounds. That was my favorite thing about my job, was telling, helping people get on their feet and sharing what I knew about reasons people were homeless, because it's such an individual thing. And I think the first time students that I've met. I also sit on the steering committee for the National Association of Directors of Disability, blah blah blah, disability services in Washington, and we're going to have a big meeting in November about some issues, and I'm so glad to participate here. I also wanted to mention that I moved to Alaska because why not? And I served Tlingit Haida of Juneau, um, all over Alaska. Well, they're all over the Tlinkits. They're all over the United States. A lot of people will see a Tlingit and not know. So I also served the tribe with victims of violence under that grant for missing murdered Indigenous women. And other than that, I have grandkids, and it may get loud if I talk because I have a loud service animal, and he is used to looking out for bears because he was in Alaska with me. So I represent Alaska on that steering committee, and I'm also kind of political. So I want you to know that in this field, I was a peer support specialist. People are people. Your ideas, what you value, is you. You know, who am I to judge or knock it? So what I feel about things is totally separate. But I'm kind of emotional sometimes, so that's me.
So much, Monica, for sharing those heartfelt, intimate details about your life. It was truly inspiring to know the things that you have done since on your road and your journey to recovery, restoration, and productivity. And we give you kudos for all the efforts that you are doing toward those who still are unhoused, still experiencing the effects of lived experience. Thank you again for being. And without further ado, we now present to you Miss Alyssa Johnson. I don't know how many people who are on the line that had the opportunity to attend the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council's symposium and conference, but Miss Alyssa Johnson riveted us all. I won't tell her story because I can't, but she certainly can. And now we turn it over to Alyssa.
All right, so do you want to know a little bit about who I am? The locals around here know me as being minorly famous as the homeless autistic cellist. Some of them also recognize me as an opinion writer for a local media called Shasta Scout. I write segments that are called We the Homeless People. And I am also the regional rep for all of the states that are currently under that Grants Pass movement except Montana. So I'm trying to buckle my way after that as hard as I can, because if these sweeps can be ended, they should be. So is there anything else that I should start off with?
It's your story.
All right. Well, should I start off with the questions that you've offered?
Just share from your heart, dear.
The problems that I usually face go a lot like this. You see, I'm autistic. I was diagnosed at a very young age. They actually tested me to see if I was deaf first. And but as an adult, considering that I'm what they call normal passing, which means that, you know, neurotypicals aren't going to be able to pick me out and say, oh, that one's autistic, but the autistic ones can. My main issues trying to get into more of a stable life is because of the fact that they can't seem to find my diagnosis. And my payee is not very good at coming up with information, and I'm not very good at bridging that gap. They expect a lot of homeless people to do so many things on their own, which is funny because it's a 70% disabled population and all of the weight is just directly on us. So it gets complicated. Most of my problem when I'm out on the streets is the fact that, you know, people are trying to stop the encampments from happening, saying that the encampments are unsafe. But I volley that with, you know what's more unsafe than being in the encampments? Not being in the encampments. Because if you're just out there rough sleeping on the side of the road, you are subject to vigilantes that like to throw things at you. Or if they catch you 5-on-1, they'll probably just find your body behind the post office or wherever. So and police harassment. I'm tired of watching people get manhandled. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be happening to begin with. They have no right to call themselves peace officers or peace anything. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what specifically you'd like to know.
Can you tell us about your music, your cello playing, and how you got into that?
I was 11 when I started playing cello. It's actually right here. When I was a kid, my orchestra teacher became the best mother figure I had because of the fact that I was born to parents that didn't really want me and made that obvious with their resentment throughout my childhood. Um, it was a very abusive household, and so I ultimately chose to stay homeless so that I don't have to bounce from abusive home to abusive home. Because at least outside, I'm allowed to defend myself. So, but my orchestra teacher saw me doing things that she hadn't seen any students do before. I've got plenty of tricks. I can finger style, I can use a bass pick and play flamenco. But my best skill that I use the most often is that I free flow. I can guess where the music's gonna go effectively enough that I'll meet you there. I'll be there when you get there. I've been composing since I was 12, but I don't have much to show for it because back before the cloud existed for a place of storage, whatever I created dies with whatever technology. So I don't really have that much of a repertoire of my history to go back and shine a light on, but it's okay because I make that stuff look like a rookie now anyways. I mean, I'm 35, so I would hope so. You see, there's one thing that I think sets me apart. The reason why I am such an anomaly, the reason why I never got into anything hard is because I am very careful about the chemical soup that my brain sits in. Because I'm protecting my ability to continue playing cello. Now, if that wouldn't have been the case, I am sure that if I didn't have anything to protect, I would have ended up just like anybody else. The difference is I hit the ground running with a functioning coping mechanism that's actually good for me. But you know, in this amount of time, I've been out here for more than 7 years. I stopped counting. I really love the homeless people because the amount of backup that they give me is more than anything I experienced from my family or any other house dwellers. I mean, you have to realize I have a very hard time trusting people. But I suppose that happens. That happens when my family thinks I'm crazy. My mother chose a pedophile over me, you see, and he's still around my family more than I ever will be. So I don't know how to protect my little cousins. I have regrets about things I should have done before I ever left. But I'm on the other side of the country. And my dad, he used to be a good dad once upon a time, but he has a type. He has a type, and he picked a woman that hates me more than my mother did, which is impressive for a feat, actually, if you think about it. Uh, so when you're raised in a household that goes through so many sets of tables and chairs and puts fake flowers in the hole he punched in the wall, I guess that puts me in a position where being a house dweller doesn't feel safe by nature. So I wish they could just leave me be and let me be the hermit in the woods, and I'd be okay, but instead they just have to keep on coming after me every time, and I'm tired of catching tickets. Misdemeanor tickets, by the way, for sleeping. The last one I got was a misdemeanor for smoking a cigarette on the sidewalk, which my boss says she might be able to help me do something about that because she says that's not okay. That's illegal. That's against the rules. So we'll see. I don't know. I have a court date at the end of this month. The last time I had a court date, they kept on revolving. They did this thing where I have to go to court every 3 months over a sleeping ticket. Every 3 months, they had me on this rotation. It's like they're setting me up to try and purposefully make me fail. And if they could just leave me alone and realize that I actually am a productive member of society and I can do it from where I sit, it wouldn't be as big a problem. But you see, it's not people like me that get the attention from the surrounding house dwellers. It's not people like me that get the attention. It's the ones that they don't like, the ones that are doing things that make us look bad. Those are the ones that get the most attention. And anytime it's complicated because out here, equality only means you get to have whatever the worst one gets to have, which means if the worst person out here isn't allowed to do something, well, neither am I, regardless of honor. So how am I supposed to climb up if they're going to keep me down with that?
So Alyssa, can
Yeah.
you talk about, let people know what state you're from and also talk about where you're living at today?
All right. Well, I'm in Redding, California, which I guess counts as a small town in California, but it's about as big as the biggest population density, biggest city in North Dakota, which is where I'm originally from. So to me, this is the big city. To everybody else in California, this is a small town. Let's see. And what else did you want me to say? You
Where are
wanted
you
me to
living
talk
at?
about the micro shelters?
Yes.
I I have to say that usually I am very avoidant of most of the shelter services, except for the micro shelters have really surprised me. This is the most dignified approach to homelessness that I've seen, uh, either in North Dakota, North Carolina, or California. This is the most hopeful one. Because here I'm treated with dignity, I'm treated with respect. I'm allowed to go at my own pace and go after the things that I so choose. I really love
So,
being a part of it.
so what is a micro shelter?
Well, in this case, it's a 10 by 10 hut. You can see I have an air conditioner up here, although it doesn't do much good above 100 degrees. And there's a heater down here, and that worked pretty good all winter long. We have access to electricity, and there's a light up there that I can turn on if I want to. There's a bed built into the wall. I'm not sleeping on the floor in here. That's always good.
So we
You're gonna
thank
have to guide me along.
Well, we thank you so much, Melissa. We're going to get into the scripted part of the presentation. But again, let me not rush through thanking Melissa for her transparency, for her openness, for her honesty, for her introspective and reflective account. See, what we fail to realize when we encounter those with lived experience, there's a root to the story. There's a beginning. They didn't just show up with an aspiration to be considered an individual who was homeless or with lived experience. There's a root. And if we don't find out about these roots, if we don't talk about these roots, then we are just doing surface band-aid surgery to this problem. Because if you don't go back to the root, give it recognition, it won't heal. So we thank Melissa for taking the time to give us that tour through her historical problems that led to the place that she is now. She painted us a beautiful picture of what's going on. She was articulate, spoke very intelligently, and communicated us a picture that I, for one, will carry in my mind for the days to come. So the Student Coalition had interest, and we asked them if they would comprise some tentative questions for our panel. So now we'll look at the first question on the scripted part, and thereafter there will be time for those individuals who would like to ask either one of our panelists something in specific. But the first thing that they wanted to know about was what gave you hope while experiencing homelessness? And we can just follow the same order. Monica can answer and then Alyssa.
So, not a lot gave me hope. I kind of live by necessity. So, I don't really need those things that really fulfill other people. Um I knew I needed to be out of the cold. So, I don't know. I can't really think of anything because the world is it was screwed up back then, and it's it hasn't changed. So I kind of was looking outside of myself while I was out there, and it just I can't think of what gave me hope.
Alyssa?
I think starting journalism, I got recruited to Shasta Scout, and I made a bet with myself that if I found a single shit smear on the homeless people in anything that they have ever put out, that I would not do this. And when I went through all of it and realized that there wasn't a single bad word against homeless people in what they've produced and sent out, then I realized, okay, well, I made that bet with myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to find out if I'm a writer. It turned out I'm a great writer, and I started to see that, even though the most interaction with a lot of the house dwellers that I have when I'm out there, I'm sitting by the park, by the library, a lot of it is very negative. People telling you to, yelling out their window to go kill yourself and all this. It gave me a chance to see that, wow, there are people in this community who do respect what I have to say and want to hear it and want to understand. And so that was the first step in my movement forward into advocacy for the streets.
Thank you so much.
I really needed to see that there were people that actually appreciated, even though they're not louder than the haters when they drive by, just seeing it makes a difference.
Absolutely. And the next question they proposed was, what were the most difficult aspects of homelessness for you?
The most difficult, the last time was when, as I was advanced in age, and healthcare for homeless people, not to throw in a plug, but healthcare for homeless people is not so great because of the consistency and the, accuracy of diagnoses based on history. So I had some kidney issues I didn't even know about, and I had incontinence. So finding some place to pee, I think that was the thing that was on my mind, because I'm always thinking, where can I go that's going to be safe? Because even though I was older, I was still the gorgeous person I am now.
Mhm.
So not that I don't want to, advertise rape and stuff, but anyway, sorry, I'm very painfully honest. And I apologize ahead of time. But anyway, I'm sorry. That's the most difficult thing, having someplace to pee.
And we sit there and smile, but the fact of the matter is, stores, restaurants, and places of business look at a homeless individual and deny them restroom privileges. So I just wanted to put that in there while she's saying that. Listen.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it is very important to be somewhere where you can use the bathroom. Now, when I'm mobile, I have a cup that I call the piss cup, or sometimes I call it the magic cup that fills itself up. And and the reason I do that is because that way I don't have to show the world my business. I can jam the cup down my pant leg and, keep my business. And that way, because I have a problem with peeing myself as well. And so this is my emergency method. And it's always good to be around somewhere that has a bathroom and access to water. Bonus points if there's electrical hookups to be able to keep yourself in contact with the world, because you can't really call for help if your technology's dead. I saw another good point in here. I saw somebody somebody said the menstrual cycle. Mine are hell. So basically, mine knock me on my ass for a good solid 3 days. I am so sick. If I don't have a leave and acetaminophen, I am down for the count. Most I'm gonna do is lay there and cry. And this is a problem because I caught tickets for that too. When I get injured and can't go anywhere, because I'm usually the one that packs, hauls, sets up. I want to say thank you for whoever just brought up autism acceptance, because I am all about that. I light it up gold. I do not light it up blue. We consider Autism Speaks to be a hate group because they don't really want us to be happy, healthy, and autistic. They want us to act normal at the price of our own mental wellness and only ever consider the comfort of the people around us. So I just want to say thank you for saying the word acceptance.
Thank
I
you.
think the hardest time that I had was there's a couple segments of this. The first 2 years that I was outside, when I was brand new to it, when the pressure you go through when you realize just how much of a nothing that you are. I spent a lot of time crying before I came to embrace myself and my situation. And that was a really rough time for me because I could still remember the life I used to have. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I had it all, everything I needed anyway. And when I lost that, I never knew how to recover because I have only lived on my own in my own rental for 4 years of my life entirely. So every other time I was usually in someone else's habitat. You know, if I was indoors, I was probably living in somebody else's house. And it just seems to me like people, I just couldn't trust people because at some point they would get spiteful. They would treat me like I'm supposed to be some kind of house servant because I'm poor. And that never did sit right with me. Like how dare you treat me like that and then act like I should be thankful for the hospitality. You know, but I got strong. Before I got my claws back, the people around me outside would fight my fights for me and protect me and keep harm at bay. They wouldn't let really bad people around me because they knew I had no interest in anything that they had to offer. And it's only because of them that I made it this far. If it hadn't been for their backup, I don't think I would have survived this. Another part that's really gotten hard is seeing the streets change. You see, after you've been out here for a while and things just for a little while after you get over things and embrace yourself, it's nice for a while. It can seem beautiful for a while, but then, you know, they put a fence around the park and the constant police harassment and just the weight of the streets changing. It's gotten darker and scarier, and people are more violent towards homeless people now than they were. I was out by the library the other day, and one of my friends told me that the vigilantes have taken to spearing homeless people in their sleep because they think that the solution to homelessness is to kill us. And so at this point, never mind that. Yeah, you don't realize that there are vigilantes out here murdering homeless people for being homeless. Yeah, I hope you know. I hope you know this is a very real thing. You
Yes.
know, they've been throwing fist-sized rocks. Now, if I catch one of those to the head just right, that's it. I will never be myself again. Not like this. There's eggs, there's glass, there's shooting pellets at us, there's urine, and yeah, there is the fact that we have many casualties that never get reported about the fact that people just came out here and killed another one of us. Because there's safety in numbers, and there's a reason why we have to have safety in numbers, because otherwise we're going to be next. So
we thank you so much, Alyssa, for really going all in on that question about what is the most difficult part, because the things that you have described, I'm sure that no one expected that is a part of an individual yet overall perspective about it. Now we're going to get to some stuff that will directly give information to the student. And what they wanted to know was, while you were experiencing homelessness at any given time, did you have interaction with either street medicine, mobile medical units, or healthcare providers in general? If you could kind of give us some perspective on that, Monica.
The only experience I've had with street medicine was through employment when I was working with the tribe, and it was in Alaska. And like, if you are into street medicine anyway, it doesn't matter what state you're in, you're pretty good, because to be somebody in street medicine with all the challenges that you have to face, like, people don't even have ID, to be honest. So how do you know this is the person you're treating? And there's so many challenges. But if you could imagine, in Alaska, you also had to look out for bears. So they smell like garbage. If you ever are in Alaska and you smell garbage, that's a bear.
Alyssa, did you have an encounter with someone from street medicine, mobile medical units, or at a healthcare facility?
yeah, here we have what they call the Hope Van, that's run out of the Shasta Community Health, and they've always been very, very good to people. I like the way that they interact with me and the rest of my people outside. I currently have partnership through them, so when I need medical assistance, like if I'm not feeling good, etc., that's usually where I'm going to go. They show up on weekdays, not weekends, at different locations throughout town. So each location that is going to be prime for a different group of homeless people that might have a harder time getting to a regular facility. And I've also seen them go down into encampments and help us with medical needs. I'm genuinely very impressed with them. They are very kind.
Thank you so much. Okay, this question is also going to help the students. And it is there anything you think the street medicine community can be doing better to accomplish its mission? Monica?
Let's see. I think if street staff, they do the same thing they do in the crisis unit. They make assumptions based on their schoolwork sometimes. And people, it's so much diversity out there. If you're not a person-centered clinician, the first thing you need to understand is people who are homeless don't have to be nice. People expect, like, look at that homeless man, like he's acting crazy. Look, he's tearing up stuff. People who are homeless don't have to fit into what your values are about your environment. They don't have to agree with you if you come to their shelter and volunteer at the soup kitchen and you're from Mothers Against Women's Rights or whatever. They don't have to agree with you. They don't have to be any different than any other person just because they're homeless. They don't owe you unless you're about to give them a place to live or something to eat. So that's the first thing. I think I kind of drifted off.
Alyssa, I see your hand. Are you excited to respond to this one?
You got to realize that survival outside requires you to change your personality and the way you do everything. You can't seem weak or harmless, otherwise people are going to try and take what you have. So this means that, if you think that they're, rough or just unpleasant or whatever you want to think, it's because we can't afford to seem happy, pleasant, and harmless like you do. Instead, we have to become a different person entirely. We have to be tough. We've got no choice in this. It's either that or lose everything, potentially life. So you can't really expect people to be happy and nice when they're homeless, because we have to be a completely different person just to survive this.
Okay, and this question is to both of you. What advice do you have for healthcare students interested in working directly with individuals experiencing homelessness in the future? Monica.
Like, you mean like after they like get their paper and all their letters, or like what should they be thinking of now while they're educating themselves?
Savannah.
Kind of both. Just now, what students can be doing, and then just in the future as physicians or professionals.
I think that the what you could be doing is broadening your horizons. Don't, like, learn about people. Watch those shows that come on TV. They're corny, but watch about different cultures. So you're not just stuck in, you know, what you think, because it's not always going to be about what you think. That just real quick, I'll tell you an example. This guy's dead, so I can tell. He was an alcoholic that we picked up out of the snow. I don't know how many times in the winter, and he was dead drunk, and he was gonna be dead, frozen to death. So this guy never ever got housing for the whole time I worked at the shelter. And I think if you learn that it wasn't because he was a bad guy that he was homeless, because he was an alcoholic, learn about people, learn what makes them do certain things. Learn, don't just go by your books and think, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Learn individuality of people. We're all separate creations. We're not just one lump like black people, and it's a bad opinion that people don't like, but we're not about what we look like. you know get to know people. That's what I think you should be doing.
Alyssa, what advice can you give the healthcare students that are interested in working with individuals experiencing homelessness in the future?
I hope you understand that people are doing the best they can from where they can with what they've got. They do the best they can with what they've got. They're always doing the best they can with what they've got. And that doesn't just go for the homeless people, that goes for people in general.
Thank you so much. And those were
Can I just say, I saw in the comments listening, and I think that's like the most important thing you could start doing, listening.
Thank you so much for underscoring that, Monica. I saw it as well. And with that, those were our scripted questions. But I would love to, we have about 30 minutes left, and I would love to have Savannah and her crew, if they having heard the stories and having heard the perspectives and the questions they answered, if they have further inquiries they'd like to make, this is a Q&A period. Just be respectful, hold your hand up, get recognized, either hold your hand up physically on the screen or use your reaction to do your raise hand function. And we're going to try to work through this to get to people who would like to ask questions to our panelists.
And if you don't want to share it, you can also type it in the chat, and I can read it out also.
Hey,
Okay.
before you start, I want to share the answers to the questions.
Oh, thanks, Val. Take us out of this strain.
So here we go. Number 1, what is the fundamental approach of street medicine? It is to engage unhoused individuals where they are and on their own terms. So how many cities a street medicine program is in? 140. How many countries? 27. What state did street medicine start in? Pennsylvania. And what year did street medicine begin? 1992.
Thank you, Val. So we see this initiative is not brand new, although it is an evolving process. One needed and one very necessary, especially in aspects that is designed to meet them where they are. So with that, we'll go back to the Q&A period. And is there anyone? I don't see any hands. Okay. Myra.
My
Go ahead,
question
Myra.
was towards Alyssa, and then that was me talking about autism. What was it? How did it feel being an autistic, an adult autistic woman on the streets, right? And having the acceptance of your autism.
You know what? It's so fun. I know that I command some respect because people know that I'm not going to bullshit them. I'm not going to tell them something is not true. One of the perks about being autistic is that I just happen to be super strong. So anytime somebody's come after me for mine, I've been able to, for the most part, defend that. But one of the things that I realized being homeless is that outside they don't care. They don't care how weird you are. You're their neighbor. They'll make you coffee in the morning. They'll feed people until they run out of mouths or run out of food, you know. And they don't care if I'm gonna go out, stand in the walk path and spin circles. They genuinely do not mind and aren't gonna make a thing about it. I can do whatever I feel I need to do to manage myself in my own way without having to worry about other people talking something mad about it. I don't have to sit there and pretend like I'm a neurotypical. You know, I don't have to make them feel comfortable by sacrificing myself. If I'm having a spicy day, they respect that. And that's a huge difference between regular society and being on the underbelly, is that I command honor and respect outside. If anybody does try to hurt me, there are people outside that are going to take a direct offense to that. And they're going to go find that person. And I didn't even send them. You know, so, I mean, like, yeah, safety in numbers. And I really wish I could just stay with them and make sure that nothing bad happens to them either. Because everybody wants to think about things on an individual basis, but they don't realize that each of us have to go like this. Outside, we can't just block people based on who thinks what. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm very much of an activist person, surrounded by activist friends on Facebook and all that. But outside, you can't just not be around your neighbor or not support and be supported by your neighbor. You don't get to pick and choose who your neighbor is. It's whoever puts up their tent, you know?
Mhm.
So, yeah, you don't just get to block people if you don't like what they have to say outside. But
So,
I really appreciate the way that they do things outside in that regard, because it's a whole different culture.
absolutely. We want to pause before I go to the next question because it's my understanding that there are some people on the line that warrant recognition, and I'm going to turn it over to Valerie so that she can recognize those people who are here, who have made this sacrifice out of a busy day and a prominent position to be with us today. Valerie?
Thank you, Charlotte. So the first person, and if you could show your face when you speak, is Melissa Moore.
Wow, I was expecting that. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that's an honor. Thank you. Definitely was not expecting that. I was commenting in the comments. I was driving just a little while ago. But thank you again for just a shout out. But street medicine is so important. I'm on the board of SMI, and I couldn't be more of a privilege to be on their board. I'm also have a nonprofit that I started after 3 years being a community health outreach worker with a FQHC. But I was on 7 years, lived in the camps, went through everything and hit rock bottom several times. My faith kept me through it. And I always knew that I would be out of it somehow, but I just never knew how, in a time when you're on the streets, because after a couple of years, the lines just get blurred and daily life is just a survival, it's a struggle. You can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel at that point, or even how to get out of it. And we didn't have street medicine when I was on the streets. We had one nurse come down every few months to our camp, and she would bring a bottle of water and a couple of snacks, and then she would actually see a couple of the people that were down there. But we didn't have any kind of medical care. We didn't want to go to the hospital because they would treat us badly and put us in the hallways. Or just kick us out completely because we're drug seeking. I have asthma, so I would go there for my inhaler. And of course, I got put in the hall. I'm drug seeking. I'm like, I'll tell you what I want. I want an inhaler. That's all I want. And so we used the hospital as our medical office, it cost so much money and taxpayer money doing it that way. So it's been street medicine. So during the pandemic, I was advocating. I'm strong with my advocacy voice, and I was freelancing and still homeless on my bicycle. And one of the new street medicine teams, noticed me, and they actually offered me a job. That's when I became a community health outreach worker with lived experience on their street medicine team in my area. And having lived experience just innately brought trust and connection with my tribe. So when we came in, they knew me. And so if I was with them, then they were okay. And so the engagement was like huge. There's a lot more engagement than when we first started. Just having someone with lived experience, because we know each other, and even going into new encampments, I knew how to engage with people so that they knew that I was from the street, and that built connection and trust right there too with just new people, which was amazing. And street medicine saved so many lives since inception in our area. But since the inception period, Dr. Jim Withers is he's amazing. And just I'm honored to be on their board. And so I branched out for 3 years. I was doing that, and then I branched out and opened my own nonprofit last year, Rising into Self-Empowerment. And I do street outreach and basically do what I was doing before, except without the nurse practitioner and the nurse on my team. But I'm doing medical referrals. I'm doing everything else. And it's just amazing being able to reach back out to my tribe and be able to pull them out and get some help for them, be able to give them hope, empower them. That's what we need, is empowerment for our people on the streets, because they've lost their sense of value. They've lost their sense of who they are. After you've been out there for a long time, you don't even remember the real world and life skills. So empowering people where they're at is key to getting them up and out of where they're at. And seeing their worth, because everybody has his worth and everybody has a backstory out there. And encampment suites are killing people. They are straight up killing people. It's just a game of cat and mouse. You know, you sweep them, they're going to go somewhere else because they don't offer any place else for them to go. And most of it's illegal, you know. So I can't wait for grants pass to be decided. And I'm praying to God that they hold up the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. But I'm not sure how it's going to go. But we definitely need to advocate. We definitely need to be a voice for people experiencing homelessness and be strong at it. And get, make statements, have AMA make a statement, have just anybody make a statement of any kind of stature. And I want to give a shout out to the students from SMI. They are amazing. Sophie and all of them are amazing. Savannah, they are just a great group of people. And so thank you very much for allowing me to jump on here because I wasn't expecting it. Thank you.
So the next person is Danielle and Dr. Joe Keesley.
Hello guys, my name is Danielle. I work for Greater Cincinnati Behavioral Health Services. I actually do street outreach for people who are experiencing homelessness. And I just want to tell Monica and Alyssa, like, thank you for sharing your stories. I know that's a lot to take in and it's very hard and you have to learn to trust people. I build relationships with people every day that at first they might cuss you out and tell you, I don't want to talk to you, get away from me. But then slowly as they see you more and more, they'll start to talk to you and you build them bonds. I work with Dr. Kiesler a lot. We do street outreach, street medicine. And I got to tell the students, this is something that is very much needed. Our clients don't have transportation. And everybody's all like, well, there's a bus. They don't have, yeah, they can panhandle that money, but what if they don't have enough to get back? So going to them where they are is the best option. You also got to think they don't have anywhere to stay. So if they leave their camp, the only thing that is on their mind while they're from that camp is, I hope nobody's taking my stuff that I didn't take with me because I couldn't carry it all. And then to come back to find out those things are gone, it is devastating to them. These are the only things they have. So going out and providing them the street medicine they need and being understanding and caring and compassionate and listening to them is something that is definitely needed. Don't jump to judgment or conclusions. Everybody's got a story and everybody needs to hear each other's story. And we need more people to advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves.
Thanks, Danielle. And yeah, and also just want to thank Monica and Alyssa for sharing your stories. And I think I just want to emphasize just the issue of trust. And it's so important on having us being able to build trust. And I want to thank, Danielle, who really has the established initial trust as going out to the encampments and being able to identify those who need medical care, and then we go back out to really find those who need that care. And so having that initial contact is so important, and really that entree into those relationships. And so we really appreciate that. And so I think, and again, for the students, I'm so excited that you're all interested in working in this area, and I really encourage you to continue that passion. It's so rewarding, and I'm here today really to continue learning, and I appreciate this session. So thank you.
You're so welcome. So my final person is Kendall Fisher, the CEO of Street Medicine.
Hey, I wasn't expecting it either. Not a good hair day in Cincinnati. It's really humid. But thank you, Valerie, and thank you so much again, Monica and Alyssa, for trusting us and sharing your story and helping students to learn. Thanks to the students, you guys do so many amazing things for SMI. So we really, really appreciate everything that you're doing. And the Student Coalition is the future of street medicine. So, being here talking about it, every life that you enlighten and change on this call will go out and touch so many other lives. And that's what we hope to do at SMI, is to support the people that are out there doing the hard work. I've learned a lot, and we're a national organization. I just happen to be living and sitting in Cincinnati, Ohio, with Valerie and Dr. Kiesler. So it's a small world and a big one all at the same time. So just thanks to everybody. Guess I'll
Okay,
toss
Charlotte.
back. So the programs, I want to hear from people that are smarter than me about all this.
We have a few questions in the chat. Our first one is, in light of grants passed, what is one thing you would like policymakers to know about the importance of not breaking up encampments? And what can students of street medicine do to advocate for decriminalization?
I think that policy should be that everybody that works in the field of any type of medicine that deals with people who are experiencing homelessness should be that there's a clearly defined boundaries, that whatever work you're doing, those boundaries are set, because don't leave it up to the street worker to decide between their job and doing something that may be kind of outside the box when it comes to helping somebody. So I think policy should include emergency situations. Real quick, the proudest thing I've ever done for somebody is I saved this young guy's life. He had just come back from being deployed in a pretty bad area, and he was drinking something awful, and we found him in a snowbank, and we brought him in, and we had his information in our homeless system, but we couldn't use it because of HIPAA. He had direct something in there saying you can't tell where I am or blah blah blah. He was a soldier, so we had to respect. It was military and everything. We violated that because he almost died. So we found the loophole. Doctors are so much a part of the team because they'll get you an out if they need to. So that's something with policy.
Savannah, would you like to do the next question? And isn't it here? Or Alyssa, did you have a comment in regards to policy?
Yeah, I just want to say that, house dwellers measure the stress level of moving as equal to a divorce. So what is this then? What's equal to this level of trauma? I'd like to understand because this is trauma. This is re-traumatizing people over and over. And I, with my work with Shasta Scout, I wanted to try and get journalists down there to see what they're doing to us. And the cops are saying that it's illegal for the journalists to come down there and see what they're doing to the homeless people during routes. So we got a problem, folks. It's even illegal for me to play bait. If I go under the bridge, because I know what people do under the bridge, with the purposeful intent of catching these people on camera with some extra help, I can't even recruit my boss for it because it's illegal for us to do that, to catch these people on camera on purpose. So we have some things we need to fix before we can even get this shit on video. And if we want justice, we need to get it on video.
Savannah, would you like to bring the next question, please?
Yes. Whitney asks, was there ever anything positive someone did while you were experiencing homelessness that impacted you?
No.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
I ended up making it on the front page as a musical genius, and somebody decided to pay off the rest of my cello. I think that was the point where I actually stopped wishing that I could go back and undo the rest of my mistakes in life.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just because I have a very particular skill set. This is not going to apply to the majority of homeless people.
Okay, so for our next question, thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful that someone paid for your cello. So our next question is from Mackenzie. She asks, could you all expand more on what have been your experiences with healthcare while experiencing homelessness other than street medicine? And what would make the biggest positive difference for you at the hospitals and clinics?
If they had some type of record, which I think I already talked about, they usually don't, but if they could refer to the record, also if they don't assume, because they're hurried, because I know a lot of you know that an infection can mimic a psychotic episode at times. So I think some more thought into treatment.
I guess I think it would be really nice if the hospitals were to take situations more seriously in general, because I mean, we've got people out here that have mangled clavicles because they weren't given the right equipment to heal properly. They were just stabilized and basically sent back out onto the street again. Yeah, there isn't really anything that takes. I wish they would take more care with the people that are outside in situations that are dire and warranted, instead of just stabilizing them and putting them back outside.
I've heard a lot of stories of individuals experiencing homelessness going to the ER and then just feeling outright dismissed and just sent right back and discharged right back into the same place where they were. So there's definitely a lot to that. Another question that we had in the chat was from Allison. She said, I think we've often been told that the world of the unhoused is violent, and the perception is that violence comes from within the community. Can you please speak more about this misconception?
I'm sorry, are people who are homeless violent, or that there's a misconception that they're violent? The misconception, right?
Yes, the misconception that they're violent.
I think, well, right now I'm in Michigan. This is where I've been most of my life. And Detroit is known for, it used to be the murder city. And there's a lot of homeless people just out and about that used to be downtown. I think that if they had a chance to not look away when they passed them on the street, like if people didn't just pass people by, they would know that Detroit has that kind of vibe anyway of being, about it, like tough. I don't know. I think the misconception might be a little true. Homeless people will get with your ass sometime. And you need to be aware of that. So some of it's a misconception. The reasons are different. Somebody might be having a psychotic episode. Somebody might be having a reaction, because of a severe infection. People get their legs cut off all the time in Detroit because of frostbite. So people freak out. Pain makes people freak out. The misconception is the reasons behind why people seem to be violent, I think. But don't assume that, homeless people are nice, because like I said, homeless people do not have to be nice to anybody.
So yeah, shit flies regularly outside, but at least it's understandable when it happens outside. You can usually understand why they're quarreling. But I have to say, almost every night my people are getting stuff thrown at them, getting beat up and everything by people who take it upon themselves to assault homeless people. And that happens way more often than I see fights happening amongst ourselves. Now, that's not to say that there isn't, plenty of quarreling, in other words, violence that goes on. At least in a hobo fight, you have a fair chance of winning. When somebody wants to throw rocks from their car and shoot you with pellets, That's not the same. That's a whole different level of violence where there is no chance of really winning against it, because if you do catch up to that vehicle, they're just going to speed off. There is no chance of protecting yourself against the house dwellers because they'll just assault you and ditch. Whereas if you're in a fight with another homeless person, at least you have a chance of winning.
All
Does
right.
that make sense?
It does.
It does, absolutely. I see Robin Hill's hand. We're going to recognize Robin, and as foretold and promised, we have a special summary and closing. So, Robin, go ahead.
So I'm just wondering, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, here recently, I don't know exactly the whole behind the circumstances or whatever, but here recently, I had to have my stuff in a storage, but been putting my stuff in storage, and I've been seeing this camper parked across the way from the place where I'm storing stuff. And the first time, well, a couple of weeks ago, they was like crashed into, and I mean on purpose. So I'm not exactly sure what was behind what happened with that, but yesterday, day before, I went back to my storage, and you could tell that it seemed like two of the campers had been put on fire. The one was for sure on fire, the same one that was crashed into. The other place, it seemed like it was just the camper was there but no longer there, but you could tell the burn marks. So I don't know if they, sometimes they have conflicts amongst others that causes, confusion and reactions that aren't pleasant. So I don't know the whole circumstances behind that, but I was paying attention too because of being on this cancel and the cab cancel as well. But it disturbs me, and I don't know how I feel about it or how to react to it.
Thank you, Robin.
And so without further ado, I would first of all like to go on record as thanking everybody for this rousing, informative, highly participated exchange and discussion for our first having a seat at the table. I thank everybody for being there. Special thanks to our participants, to our distinguished guests, and everyone. Now, in the moment that I did not disclose, that I'm sure will not disappoint, we will have our very own Valerie Dow close us down.
Oh, no, I'm not closing. We're going to have Charlotte to do a poem for us. She's a poet. So that's who's going to close.
I love this surprise.
Thank you, Cece. She's getting it together in her head.
Well, as she gathered herself, I was really reflecting on the "Men in the Arena" quote from Roosevelt when all the culmination of this. It really reminded me of that. I don't know if anyone are familiar with it.
So is there anyone else? We got about 3 minutes. Can we get a 1-minute comment? Savannah, Meredith.
I just wanted to thank Charlotte too for moderating this whole discussion and for just going about it so well in her discussion. So thank you, Charlotte. Also, Valerie, I remember the first call I had with Valerie when we had this idea, and I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work, and it all came together. And Meredith also, and for everyone for being here, but especially you three, and to our speakers today, Alyssa and Monica, thank you so much. But that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Meredith.
Oh, I'm just eagerly anticipating Charlotte's performance. So, of course, a huge gratitude to Alyssa and Monica. Thank you so much for your time and so graciously and generously sharing your stories. And a huge shout out to Charlotte and Val and Savannah. This has been a great event. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Okay, Charlotte.
We are the people with lived experience, a product of the principles and philosophies of the great Ellen Dailey, have come to declare. We speak for the voiceless to make others aware. Do not now hereby take a stand for our fellow man, raise our voices throughout this great land. We are the people of the National Health Care for the Homeless Council, its partners, allies, and the entire constituency. Unite as one community to fight for the human right of the housing first model, full throttle, all the way to the Supreme Court. We will not abort this cause until they rewrite the laws that victimize and criminalize the unhoused. On the city, state, and local level, we wage war against the devil that seeks to ignore the cries and roars. So we stand together, heart to heart, hand in hand, from shore to shore, executing relentlessly from sea to shining sea. The work we do is far too important to be left lying dormant, so we rise up, never to give up. We cannot and will not leave one behind, nor decline to stand up and fight day and night, combating the plight of this grave situation running rampant in this great nation. This is our cross to bear. So with determination and undying motivation, we march on for those who don't have a voice. We do not have a choice. We must advocate to eradicate the hate that comes to separate. For this cause, we have been called one and all. For until there is justice, there's just us. We demand justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. All are created equal, and equality for all is the only solution. Finding any and every way, as long as we're able to make sure those who look like us have a seat at the table. We build on the foundation of the great Ellen Dailey and daily strive to recognize that our voices have power to make a difference. So we set our stance like a flint stone, ever mindful of the groan and expression of pain and the victory we have to gain. So right here and now, we make it plain without shame and exclaim, we are the people. Thank you.
So I just want to thank everyone for attending. This is just awesome.
So amazing. Thank you, Valerie and Charlotte, for pulling this all together, and for everyone who shared today. It just was so powerful, and so glad that I joined you all. I needed this today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So that comes to the end of this webinar. Thank you, Savannah, for reaching out. And
Thank you
all
for
the medical
answering.
students. So, good night, everyone.